Well, here we are again, our latest installment of the Crockett Chronicles. When? Maybe this is a rhetorical question. When are these white women going to learn not to go after Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett? During a Fox interview, Attorney General Pam Bondi warned Crockett to, quote, tread very carefully, end quote, just days after the Democrat spoke at a virtual rally for the Tesla takedown movement. If you don't think the Tesla takedown movement is serious, 85% crater in Tesla sales in Europe. So let's be clear. This group is protesting against Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency's efforts to dismantle the federal bureaucracy through boycotts and demonstrations at Tesla properties.
We are not coming off these charges. We are looking at everything, especially if this is a concerted effort. This is domestic terrorism. And Maria, now you have this Congresswoman Crockett who is calling for attacks on Elon Musk on her birthday. Let's take him out on my birthday, she says. And yet she turns and says, oh, I'm not calling for violence. Well, she is an elected public official. And so she needs to tread very carefully because nothing will happen to Elon Musk. And we're going to fight to protect all of the Tesla owners throughout this country, and it's just basic safety. Once again, domestic terrorism is going to come to a stop in our country.
Well, what we've learned is something that we probably should have suspected, that Pam Bondi doesn't know the definition of domestic terrorism. But then again, that's not why she's the Attorney General, isn't it? It's not at all. Alina Habba, who just was made the top federal prosecutor for New Jersey, Trump's personal lawyer, who we last saw losing in New York court, is now the top federal prosecutor in New Jersey. So whether it be Alina Habba or Pam Bondi, I think it's pretty clear how you all got y'all's jobs and why you got them. But hey, we all know that Jasmine Crockett, Congresswoman Crockett, will answer when shots are fired. She addressed Bondi's remarks during an interview on MSNBC.
Tesla Takedown, that is the name of the website. And it was all about this large protest that they're calling for. And this is a nonviolent protest that they're calling for. And in fact, when I was on there, which is why the Attorney General had to say that I wasn't calling for violence, and it's ridiculous that I even have to say something like that. But because they are trying to twist our words, one of the things that I told people to do is make sure you are adhering to the laws in your area. Make sure you know what it looks like to protest and to be able to raise your voices and to exercise your constitutional right to free speech. And what we see is that they want to dull our free speech rights. They want to make sure that those that are participating in the press, because we saw that there have been recent attacks specifically on this news organization, they want y'all to kind of tamp down what you say and hopefully buy into the lies instead of going out there and just telling the truth. And so, yeah, I'm excited to see that Elon Musk, that his money as it relates to Tesla, well, Tesla's tanking right now. And I'm okay with that. So just in case the slow people listening decide to clip this up later, I just want to say that I have never promoted violence whatsoever, yet I've also never made excuse for those violent actors such as the ones on January 6th. So Pam Bondi, if you have an issue with terrorism, maybe you should talk to your boss about locking back up those guys that he let out that participated in January 6th.
Congresswoman Crockett, who of course has a law degree, practiced law, business owner, had her own law firm, helping us understand the difference perhaps between a definitional statute and a charging statute. So Pam Bondi using words kind of loosely there, and Jasmine Crockett reminding us that there are indeed domestic terrorists in the United States who were charged and convicted, and many of them were pardoned by Pam Bondi's boss, Donald Trump. Dr. Dibinga, you sit there and look at this. You've written about this. You teach about this, how race operates. What do you make of Bondi's statements, and why do you think she made them and aimed them specifically at, as she said, this Congresswoman, Jasmine Crockett? And what do you hear when you hear the way that Bondi lined out there?
Oh, she's putting a target on her back, and she's also trying to issue a warning to other Black people in general, because she knows full well that Representative Crockett is beloved in our community, and that even before the bleach blonde comment that went viral, she was always somebody who was represented and well respected in our community and just adored on so many levels. And so this is a kind of an opportunity, a way for them to kind of start at somebody at the top, because you've never really heard Pam Bondi mention any other Congress people or senators by name. Of course, Trump does it, shifty shift, all of that other type of stuff. But Pam Bondi doesn't really do that. She kind of speaks in generalizations, but now she's trying to issue that particular type of warning. And the fact of the matter is that letting people know that we're going to protect Tesla in any way, shape, or form. We're going to sell cars on the lot. We're going to, advertise selling the stock. But now we're also going to stop these acts of domestic terrorism. But as Representative Crockett said, now looking at the real terrorism that happens across this country on a daily basis, she's trying to throw some shots to say you better be careful. But Representative Crockett, as someone who's, as we know, has never called for violence and who's somebody who's always careful with her words, but we know for them it doesn't matter. It's about symbolism. It's about trying to keep Black people in place. It's about trying to keep us silent. And so they're starting at the top with somebody who's the most vocal. And this kind of happened with Auntie Maxine. Remember when she was talking about, if you see these guys in the restaurant, confront them. And they're like, oh, remember, Representative Waters is calling for violence. And she was like, no, confront them in terms of having a conversation. Tell them you don't like their policies and that you voted for them, all of that. But they are master manipulators, but they are also the masters of projection, because every projection is a confession, because they are the one inflicting terrorism on people in America right now. Look at the people who they just shipped to El Salvador as the latest example.
Absolutely. And we lift up Yun Sao Chung, who is suing right now. They filed a lawsuit today. She's a student at Columbia University in New York, South Korean, 21 years old. She's been here since she was 7, has permanent resident status. Only an immigration judge can take away a green card, and she's suing because they're trying to get rid of her. And of course, we saw earlier, a couple of weeks ago, what happened there with Mahmoud Khalil, who also fellow legal immigrant at Columbia University, who was detained by ICE. And Renita, we've heard the over-the-top rhetoric of Tom Homan, Trump's attack dog with ICE and Department of Homeland Security, saying that I don't really care about these judges. I'll thumb my nose and do whatever I want to do. But, Renita, putting this target, as Omakongo said, on the back of Representative Crockett, and trying to send a message that we don't care. We can do whatever we want, and we'll do it in the name of national security. We'll do it in the name of protecting the homeland from domestic terrorism, legal or not legal. We have the right to do that, or we have the power to do that. What do you make of this, particularly since, we know, particularly in the Deep South, that the idea of targeting people with rhetoric stirs up other people, and then these paramilitaries, these extra legal organizations, these places, can jump into action and perhaps have the intended consequences that such heated rhetoric stirs up. Should we be preparing to protect Representative Crockett at all costs at this point? I mean, what do you make of this situation?
We should, because statistically, Black women, when they serve in public office, receive more death threats than any other demographic of elected official. I certainly received my share of death threats while serving. Folks who would call my office and say, conservative white men call my office saying, I'm coming down to the Capitol on her right now, calling, demanding for my home information, all types of stuff. At the end of the day, Pam Bondi, and I would just say conservatives overall, they are the most thin-skinned people you can possibly find. They would not last as a Black woman elected official. If they had to be us for one day, they would quit by lunchtime. And so for Pam to add sauce to what Representative Crockett said, because that's what she did. Representative Crockett said, I hope that Elon will be out for my birthday, referencing getting him out of the White House, which is correct because he's not been elected by anybody. He doesn't belong there. She says she wants him out, and that is her right. She's broken no laws by saying that she wants him out. She's simply saying that she does not wish Elon well. Pam, I don't wish you well. And that is my right as an American. So I think that this whole game that they are playing, trying to basically force it on people that they have to continue to give Elon the popularity that he is used to, and that people have to only have good thoughts about how they run this administration, is a bunch of garbage. The more you try to shove something down a person's throat and tell them to think a certain way, it never works out well. People inherently reject that, and people inherently reject what you're trying to do. If you are doing such a good job, and this includes Pam, Bondi, Trump, all of them, if you're doing such a good job with the way that you're running this administration, then you wouldn't be having to tamp down on what people voice and what they think about how the administration is going. People would be happy with it, but they're not. And people do have the right to speak up and say that they are not happy with it. Indeed.
I just want to sit there for a second in the fact that people are calling your office, threatening to come down there. That is, hey, y'all, this ain't the 1940s, 50s, or 60s. We're talking about right now, 21st century. I just want that to resonate very loudly. And we should all hear that crystal clear, whether or not the threat is the threat. It doesn't matter where it's coming from. Just thinking about that. Brother Mondale,
yeah.
What do you think? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think people should hear we shouldn't even, like you said, we should sit there for a moment, because Renita just said something. She was a servant, a elected servant, and getting death threats. I'm someone who does not stay. I've not slept a night in my bed as mayor in a town. I have to go and leave that town every day. I have meetings because of death threats for tearing down a Confederate monument. 2.5 years, I'm moving back and forth from hotel to hotel and different locations for the protection of me and my wife. Credible threats where people have my address because I was doxxed by the Loyal White Knights, which is the largest Klan chapter in this country, the same ones that planned Charlottesville. But what Bondi want to do is, if she want to talk about those domestic terrorists, then she should be talking about what her FBI said, that the largest and the greatest threat to Americans, the greatest form of domestic terrorism, is white supremacy, white nationalists. She should get busy with that, but she can't, because she's disarmed the Civil Rights Division of her department. These people aren't serious. And a matter of fact, I don't know if she understands the difference between domestic and global, but the Take Down Tesla is a global movement, and it's a global call to action. And it says directly on their website that they are against any form of violence or property destruction and vandalism, but they definitely want anybody that owns stock in Tesla to get rid of it, dump it, anybody that owns a Tesla to sell it, and also to protest this weekend in front of one of the 500 locations worldwide. 30 of them are planned in the United States, across 30 states. So I think this idea that they think that is a form of violence, it is in their mind, because they are white people not understanding why black people and other people are standing up or having the right to be uppity Negroes in this moment. And that will always be a form of terrorism for people who support and stand for the idea of whiteness. You, me, and everybody on this panel do not have a right, and Crockett included, do not have a right to question whiteness, a white person. And I think that's the point they're speaking from. The problem is they're saying it out loud. And we need to listen to them, because they're not dog whistling anymore. They're letting you know that black people need to be in their place. And if you're not, we're willing to use all matters of government to put you there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And for those who are, so glad you brought the global context there. For those who have been paying attention, the electric vehicle leader in the world, the giant, is BYD out of China. Can't buy them here, of course, but today, BYD reported annual revenues from 2024 of around $107 billion. Last year, Tesla's annual revenue was $97.7 billion, and that's without access to the U.S. market. That profit jumped 34% for BYD in fiscal year 2024. By the way, about 2 weeks ago, they announced a quantum leap in battery technology. They now have announced a battery that can go almost 300 miles for an electric vehicle on a 5-minute charge. Elon Musk, do you hear what's coming for you, baby? I know that's why you want to steal our tax dollars.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
I done told y'all the Republicans in Tennessee are just beyond stuck on stupid. They act a fool all the damn time. Well, guess what? My man, State Representative Justin Pearson, was not having it. Tennessee Hauler dropped this video here where they went at it because this one Republican was criticizing Justin for not being at the Capitol when he was mourning the death of his brother who took his own life. And things got a little heated on the floor. Justin, talk your shit.
We need to do something about the gun violence epidemic, and now is the time to do it. And I will continue to advocate for that because I believe in it. Personally, from our family's own experience to the experiences of too many people in our district and in our community who are suffering from the lack of good laws and good regulation. You don't have to throw out responsible gun ownership in behalf of the Second Amendment.
I know every member in this committee's been here this year working during committee, during session, voting on bills.
Yes, sir.
And I know you may have some things going on, but you have not. So I don't think it's fair for you to come in front of this committee and lecture us on hard work and convictions. We've been here working.
Thank you, Chair Farmer, for your comments. They incense me. They make me very, very angry, not just because of the lack of regard, but the disrespect and the same denigrating tone that you used on the State House floor when the vote to expel me happened. It's disrespectful. It's unbecoming, and it's beneath the standard of a person who's supposed to represent in the Tennessee House of Representatives. It is a pathetic excuse for you to not answer the question of why we are doing nothing about the gun violence epidemic than to personally attack me. My brother, Temperance Darnell Pearson, one of the loves of my life, passed away from gun suicide on December 1st of 2024. Shattered my family like gun violence has shattered so many families. Shattered my nephew's lives, my mother, my father, my other brothers who are remaining. I buried my brother. I planned for his entire funeral. My fiance made his obituary. I made sure that he was taken care of, even in death. That's what I've been doing. But also, not just that, I went to all of my nephew's schools. I met with their principals and their teachers to ensure that they are okay. I made sure that they had grief counseling and that they're seeing a psychiatrist. That's what I've been doing. And while you're talking about hard work, you need to realize that our job is not just in this state house with these marble floors. Our jobs are on the streets and in the communities that we serve. And so while you've been here passing bills that have been hurting transgender children, while you've been here passing bills that have been hurting the poor, hurting the marginalized, hurting the disenfranchised, while you've been here passing bills that have not ended poverty, while you've been here passing bills that have not helped people who need Medicaid expansion, while you've been here doing the hard work of making sure that our state is not the state that it can be because you have decided.
Representative Pearson.
I've been in my community, meeting with seniors, meeting with young people. That's what I've been doing. Hard work doesn't just happen with this legislation. It happens in our communities.
Representative Pearson.
While you've been here doing that, I've been in my community. And it's taking your grief and your pain and your heartache and it's standing in front of people who you know may not like you. Standing in front of people who you know will disrespect you. You need to pass better laws, better legislation, and fight for a state where everybody is able to live more freely from the pain of gun violence that me and my family are experiencing. That's what you need to think about, Chairman Paul. And if you can't think that, learn to shut up. Learn to shut up.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Representative Pearson, it seems that it's very common in your party when you disagree with a comment. Now, it's not disrespectful to you. I have a family. I've made sacrifices every year. So
Representative Pearson, I know this is a very difficult time for you to be back up here. I'm sorry for all the things that you've experienced. You've been a great uncle. You've done the things that you were supposed to do to help your family. If I was in the same situation you were in, I would be doing the same thing. I understand that, okay? I know tensions are high.
Disrespect is high, Chairman.
We are now voting to send House Bill 1392 on to full judiciary.
Mr. Chairman, you have 2 ayes, 7 nays.
The noes prevail. House Bill 1392 fails.
No. Hey, Representative Pearson. No, sir. No, sir. No. Hey.
Don't touch him. Do not touch him. Do not touch him. Do not touch him.
Don't you ever come out to me and my family.
My father, please stop.
Don't you ever
My father.
Come on, Justin, you're okay.
We love you.
Yo, this is real simple, Rebecca. We ain't tolerating this nonsense. Like, these folks actually think that the black folks today are the ones who will fall on bended knee and will keep their head down. Yes, boss. Yes, boss. Yes, boss. No. Hell no. I don't give a damn if you got that racist in the White House. I don't give a damn if you got that apartheid-loving Elon Musk. No, ain't no way in the hell they think they're going to keep disrespecting black folk and we not going to respond accordingly.
You know, that was really hard to watch, and condolences to the representative. But here's a warning. Y'all better leave black people alone. We are sick and tired. Y'all trying to take everything away from us. You're trying to call us stupid. You're trying to call us ghetto. You're saying that you're going to remove DEI because we're unqualified. Y'all better leave us the F alone, because at this point, here's the thing. We built this country, which means we know the ins and the outs and exactly how this country operates. Y'all better leave us alone. Let us just mind our own business and don't come for us, because y'all going to keep pushing, and it's going to reach a point where Black America is like, okay, cool. Since we built this house, we could also unbuild it. So leave us alone.
Joy.
That is correct. Look, do not let Elon Musk and whoever this other representative was and Donald Trump cash with their mouths something that your butt cannot cash in, cannot pay. Do not try Black people. We're not going to try you. You don't try us. Leave us alone. We are not the ones. And that's for people who, you might think look, nice and quiet and who aren't going to give you your business handed to you, and those who you think might. Nobody is tolerating it. Not the people at your job, not the people in your neighborhood, not the people that you think you can get things away with. We're not tolerating it anymore, and we're not being nice about it. And we're also letting you know where you stand with us. So much of this country is about what white people think. We care about what we think, and we're going to start telling you. And I think sometimes we held back, in part for survival, in part because we were trying to go along to get along. But you have shown that that does not work. So the gloves are off. So now we're going to start telling you the truth. And what he did was he married policy with the fury, the righteous fury that he had with personal experience.
Yep.
You cannot beat that. And that is why that representative looked silly, why his wife and his children are embarrassed tonight to know him.
Well, that's also
because the whole world sees who he is.
Well, and
he ain't, you know what.
And that's one of the reasons right there, Jolanda, why that Republican chair had the proper tone and respect.
Yes.
There. So go ahead.
And I've got to tell you, so I don't know if you know this, but my condolences go off to Representative Pearson. My father killed himself. I was with my dad when he killed himself. 2 of my uncles killed themselves. And we need time to grieve. And if he's so insensitive to not understand why that Representative Pearson might be at home with his family during their time of grief, he don't need to be elected, first of all. Second of all, at this moment in time in history, and trust me, there's a fork in the road right now, and we either better fight back or we're going to be destroyed. We're going to be taken back to before Jim Crow. That every single solitary time we see racism and disrespect, we absolutely better point it out, right? And if you come at him disrespectfully like that, Black people right now need strong leadership. And what they did back in slavery times is they would take our strongest Black men and they were draw and quarter them to get every other Negro in line, every other slave in line. So guess what? We cannot allow that to happen. We need to fortify him. We need to, I'll say, we ain't got no place. Like, that's what they think that we're supposed to be, except for we are more intelligent. We've tasted some freedom, and we're going to fight for it. And we're not going to let you just disrespect us. And if you grew up in the hood like I grew up in the hood, I'm going to say that again. If you grew up in the hood like I grew up in the hood, if you let a bully you, they will continue to bully you. Sometimes you need to bust them in their face and make them think twice. And I bet you what, when Representative Pearson was over there by him, he was sitting real quiet, wasn't he? Because he had real big nuts when he was there trying to put him down, except for he effed around and found out that you can't come for him like that. And I'm thankful that the chair got the appropriate tone. Because if you can't go support your family in a time of death, I mean, that's unacceptable. And I'm angry about it, my damn self.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
I just gotta play this here. Listen, I really wish folk understand what the role and the job of journalists are supposed to be. So they were discussing this whole thing on the Breakfast Club, okay? And the right wing, I understand the right wing has been spreading this clip around left and right. Daily Caller put this out there as well. So here's DJ Envy talking about what Jeffrey Goldberg did. And I'm like, Envy, really, bro? Come on.
If you did get those texts, right, and you know those texts weren't supposed to be to you, why would you put it out there? Like, that's what I don't understand. Like, you are a journalist, but this is your country, and you know releasing some of that stuff can probably or might affect some of the things that happen. Why would you put that out there? Like,
you think I'm gonna sit on that? You know how big of a story that is? That's why you put it out there.
Yeah, but this is your country, and if it could affect military, it could affect people that's out there working.
Nobody cares about that because you have bylines, you want to get the clicks, you want to sensationalize, and in 2025, nobody cares about that.
Don't care about people, huh? They care more about likes and TikTok numbers?
Not even .com numbers, Google Trends. Like, I'm just being real. Like, that's why you put it out there. But also, too, I think, depending on where that journalist sits politically, like, it's kind of like exposing how careless, or I think that's what they were trying to do, exposing how careless an administration could be, which is also dangerous. So maybe that's their way of saying, yo, if I care about my people, like, y'all need to know, y'all president and his administration are accidentally sending something this serious.
Okay, so that was Envy and Lauren having a conversation. Both of them have no idea what the hell they're talking about. Okay, that was just a ridiculous conversation. Okay, I've been in journalism since I was 14 years old. And the reality is, there's a long history. First of all, the First Amendment is the first for a reason, okay? I've been a journalist a long time. Again, went to communications high school, all right? Just, look, I wore, just understand, I wore this today. This is my one. Okay, Jackie Yates High School, Mag School of Communications. What they call me in high school? Mr. TV. Been doing this since I was 14 years old. Okay, so this conversation was a joke. This isn't about Lauren. It's not about clicks. It's not about that. It's actually about the role of a journalist. It's what journalists do. They broke the law. There are things that we report on in journalism. These things actually happen. You know what? There's a thing that's called, people maybe remember, the My Lai massacre. Go to my computer, okay? This was broken by two journalists, okay? Seymour Hersh is one of those journalists, okay? Very well known, Pulitzer Prize winning, where they broke the story about what happened during Vietnam, what American troops were doing. Okay, do y'all understand? This is Richard Seymour Hersh and Ronald Rittenhour. They actually broke that story, all right? Many of us know about the other story. It's been documentaries, it's been movies, the movie The Post centered around it, the Pentagon Papers. Daniel Ellsberg got a hold of the voluminous history of the Vietnam War. Come on, go to my iPad. All right, this is from the National Archives, okay? It literally breaks it down. But Daniel Ellsberg, he was working with the Rand Corporation. He was so shocked by what he saw in Vietnam, but also the lies that were being told by the American people. And so he then passed on the Pentagon Papers to the New York Times. And the New York Times, the Nixon administration went after them and then tried to get them to stop it. They got an injunction. And what then happened was the Washington Post then began to report on it as well. Okay, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the New York Times and the Washington Post. This is what journalists do every single day. Folks, I have a copy of this book, which is an amazing book by Ethan Michael McKaylee. It's called The Defender, How the Legendary Black Newspaper Changed America. Okay, this is what this book looks like. If you read this book, you know what you will discover? During World War II, the United States actually threatened to sue and to imprison black newspapers because the black newspapers were writing about racism that black troops had faced in the United States military. They wanted to charge them with treason, saying that their reporting was not in the interest of the United States. They wanted the black papers to only be writing about the war. And they said, wait a minute, y'all, there was a campaign called the Double V campaign, victory at home and victory abroad. That's what black papers were doing. To Lauren and Envy, what about clicks? It was about the black papers writing about the racism that African Americans were facing in the United States military. We can go on and on and on with countless television stories, radio stories, newspaper and magazine about how journalists have been writing about the actions of media, writing about stuff that has been leaked. I remember when I was in Fort Worth, been a city hall reporter for the Star Telegram, when I was being leaked information about the lousy housing department there. This is what journalists do every day. And so in that clip, when Envy was talking about, well, you're an American, yes, but it has nothing to do with the issue. Do understand, Nixon wanted to put Katharine Graham, the publisher of the Washington Post, through the ringer, the New York Times as well. I just told you they wanted to actually try black newspaper publishers for treason. So what are we talking about here? If you're going to be on radio, if you're going to be on urban radio, my God, have some facts to back it up. Please, by all means. But when you put these things out to the public doesn't know about these things. I dare say the young audience of the Breakfast Club, they don't know. I'm not assuming, but more than likely, they ain't got no clue about the My Lai massacre. They got no clue about the Pentagon Papers. They got no clue about the many instances where journalists have actually done this reporting. It has nothing to do with being an American. It has nothing to do with being a Texan or being a Houstonian. When you are a reporter, you may have to report some things that government officials don't like. I've had countless run-ins with mayors and city council members and state legislators, members of Congress. My job is not to serve them. It has nothing to do with the flag and oh my God, this might hurt the military. No, it's called the public interest. The public interest. And so when I saw that clip, I was like, I sent Envy a text. I was like, bro, what are you talking about? I need black targeted media because the Breakfast Club is not black owned. iHeart Radio owns the Breakfast Club. But I need, if we're going to be having conversations, I need us giving factual conversations to black people. And the role of journalists, it's not about waving the flag. Why was Phil Donahue's show on MSNBC canceled during the Iraq War? Because of, no, we gotta be waving the flag. We now know, because of some journalists with Knight Ridder who were doing the work, and they exposed what was happening in this country. They exposed the truth about the war in Iraq. They exposed the truth about weapons of mass destructions. They exposed that. So what do we say? They should have been doing their job? When the numerous journalists were reporting, what happened when journalists got pimped? Judith Miller, New York Times, who ran these stories of an Iraqi national describing a program of weapons of mass destruction that never existed. All of that stuff could not be corroborated. This is why you need a strong fourth estate. This is why you need journalists. There's a difference between somebody talking on the radio and somebody reporting the news. There's a difference between somebody who's out there gathering the facts than somebody expounding on what they read. And so I just need our people to understand. I need our people to understand that what Jeffrey Goldberg did here, Jeffrey Goldberg did nothing wrong. Jeffrey Goldberg is an editor-in-chief of The Atlantic. He was added to a signal group. Do y'all understand that, again, what they were doing was against the law? They were brazenly and openly having conversations in a signal chat group about the attacks in Yemen? Let me repeat again. Pull the graphic up. I need to show y'all who was on there. National Security Advisor, Waltz. Vice President, J.D. Vance. Pete Hegseth, Defense Secretary. Susan Wiles, Chief of Staff. Marco Rubio, Secretary of State. You got Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence. The Director of National Intelligence, meaning all of the intelligence agencies reporting to her. Ratcliffe, head of the CIA. Stephen Miller, top aide to Trump. The lead negotiator, Witkoff, who was in Moscow at the time when he was in the group. That, Envy, is why Goldberg reported the story. Because the American people should know that the entire apparatus of the United States Foreign Service Group, if you will, were having a conversation where somebody allowed a journalist, somebody without security clearance, into a conversation to listen to actual troop movements and actions taken by the United States military. You damn right, Jeffrey Goldberg should have reported this. This is what our job is. Simple as that. Final comment from our panel on this. Randy, you first.
Journalists are the people who provide the truth for us. They allow us to make the decisions. I mean, they are so vital to America. I mean, everything you said, it was spot on. I don't think that Goldberg, he's not an influencer. I don't think he's worried about clicks and likes, but he is worried about being true to his profession. And that really makes him a true American.
He did not believe what he was seeing. And he was very, very reserved about it ultimately, he didn't post the operational details. So everything that Envy seems to be worried about, he did not post on. He did not reveal those things, even though he was privy to them. And the other part is, at the end of the day, this is news. Something being done that's against national security interests and possibly breaking the law. That is the definition, the quintessential definition of news. But it's not news that these guys are incompetent, that the intelligence community, people that are leading it, is not necessarily so intelligent. And so the idea that this is one of the reasons and one of the ways in which they're not so intelligent and don't have it together is absolutely news. But the cat's already out of the bag. And Envy, that is not this particular person's fault.
Mustafa.
The role of journalism is to place a spotlight on the truth, even when truth is inconvenient, dangerous, or denied.
Indeed, indeed. And folks, this, go to my iPad, this, Knight Ridder, how a small team of U.S. journalists got it right on Iraq. 20 years after the U.S. invasion of Iraq, the reporting team at Knight Ridder shares how they debunked the Bush administration's relentless march to war. Y'all, their reporting took place in real time. If people had listened to these reporters at Knight Ridder, we would not have entered that war. And you would not have had thousands of people die unnecessarily because the war was not about WMDs. It was about oil. Simple as that.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
But I just want y'all to understand, the racists, they can't use the N-word. Well, then, not really, because Trump and Elon will give them approval. So what they want to do is, damn, we can't call you the N-word. We could call you ghetto. See, they got all these different euphemisms and different names what they want to call you. But since they want to say she's ghetto, well, let's just go ahead and see how she broke it down today in the Crockett Chronicles. Go ahead, roll the stinger, the Crockett Chronicles stinger. All right, so they've been demanding the Congresswoman apologize. She's like, nah, that ain't happening. And she lit that ass up today and had some choice words for Fox News. And damn, if I had some tea, I'm here for it.
It should not be surprising that the president is doing everything possible to make it more difficult for the media to hold him accountable and for the public to be informed about his reckless and illegal behavior. Yet here we are. The Republicans have actually organized this goofy hearing to try to convince the American people that PBS and NPR are, quote, domestic terrorists, or domestic threats, my apologies, not the incompetent, unqualified Secretary of Defense who's texting war plans to journalists. But it's y'all, PBS and NPR, the American people are supposed to be worried about. You can't make this up. It's as stupid as it sounds. The American people should be worried about the president threatening to investigate NBC for treason for reporting on his felony convictions, or arresting reporters and stripping networks of their licenses for not saying nice things about him or not using Gulf of America. The Republicans' witness, Mr. Gonzalez, went so far as to suggest that because NPR and PBS reported on the murder of George Floyd, they, quote, represent a danger to our physical health as well as to civic health of our body politics. Ms. Mayor, do you think reporting on the murder of George Floyd and highlighting instances of systemic racism is a domestic threat to America?
Thank you, Congresswoman. I believe it's our responsibility to report on all issues of interest to the American public.
Thank you so much. Ms. Kerger, what about you?
I agree. I think it's important for us to report on the important news of the day.
So let's talk about the critical role of public media. During his first term, President Trump's own Department of Homeland Security highlighted the importance of public broadcasting's role in public safety. In 2018, his administration stated, quote, PBS and local public television stations play a crucial role in protecting communities by delivering essential information to individuals and first responders. These benefits are all made possible by public broadcasting stations' unique reach, reliability, and role across America, and are especially vital in rural and underserved areas. Madam Chairwoman, I would ask unanimous consent. I seek unanimous consent to enter into the record the 2018
Without objection, so ordered.
And Madam Chair, I also seek unanimous consent to enter into the record the 2019 report titled Modernizing the Nation's Public Alert and Warning System from Trump's...
Without objection, so ordered.
In the report, FEMA encouraged, quote, the use of public broadcast capabilities to expand alert, warning, and communication capabilities to fill gaps in rural and underserved areas. Mr. Ullman, what's a more significant domestic threat, reporting the murder of George Floyd or dismantling most of America's emergency communication systems?
Can you please repeat the question for me, Congresswoman?
Which one is more of a threat? Reporting the murder of George Floyd or dismantling most of America's emergency communication systems?
Dismantling the emergency systems.
And isn't it true that in Barrow, Alaska is the only, isn't it true that KBRWAM in Barrow, Alaska is the only broadcast service available in an area of more than 90,000 square miles?
That is correct. It's also the North Slope where the majority of all the oil production that comes from Alaska takes place.
Thank you so much. And isn't it true that without these stations' broadcast, Americans in rural communities would lack access to life-saving information and public safety alerts?
That is correct.
So in your opinion, would eliminating funding for stations in rural America like WNGH, Channel 18, and the Chairwoman's District hurt Americans?
It would hurt Americans, yes.
In fact, Georgia Public Broadcasting serves as the official distributor of evacuation route information during state-ordered evacuations, and the chairwoman is here advocating to strip their funding. Look, the DOGE agenda isn't about government efficiency. It's about breeding corruption at the expense of the safety of the American people, particularly Americans living in rural or remote parts of the country. They don't care about public safety. They don't care about emergency management, and they don't care about free speech, all of which are harming American people. In fact, I'm going to skip off real quick because they have tried to come for you, Ms. Mayor, and I just want to clarify, you did not work for NPR when those statements were made, did you?
That is correct, Madam
And to be clear, free speech is not about whatever it is that y'all want somebody to say. And the idea that you want to shut down everybody that is not Fox News is bullshit. We need to stop playing because that's what y'all are doing in here. You don't want to hear the opinions of anybody else. And the Constitution states Congress shall make no law respecting or establishing of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the...
The gentlewoman's time has expired.
Press.
The gentlewoman's time has expired.
Well, shit. Handle your business, Jasmine. I'm so sick and tired of these damn racists, Joy. And that's what they are. They racist. All of you get out, you get out. That's all it is. They want to say the N-word so bad. And guess what? Y'all can go to hell with your censure. Because if you got that fool Green, you got that fool Andy Ogles who lied on his campaign finance reports about a loan he got. You got the racist congressman there from Arizona. They could all go straight to hell. And so you gonna come for Jasmine Crockett? You coming for all of us?
Absolutely. And I mean, nobody is worried about them censuring her. They are completely illegitimate. They are a joke. And frankly, if you do that, it's only going to mean more people are going to give to her. It's only going to increase her popularity. It's only going to make sure more people are listening to her and receiving her message. So do what you will. This woman is not worried about you calling her names, and neither are the rest of us. We are no longer falling for your ridiculous, racist, misogynist, misogynoir arguments. And by the way, the greatest threat to people with disabilities has been and continues to be now Donald Trump and the policies he advocates for. And that includes Greg Abbott and the things that he has done in the state of Texas. They are an existential threat to people with disabilities. So keep people with disabilities out of your mouth. When Donald Trump is eliminating DEI programs, what they forget to mention is that these are usually DEIA. A stands for accessibility programs. Donald Trump has actively stood up with his own mouth and disparaged people with disabilities, including around the time when we were talking about that plane crash in Washington, D.C., suggesting that you can't work if you are a person with disabilities. These people are ridiculous. No one is falling for it. And frankly, at this point, if they are complimenting you, that means you're not doing anything. You're doing their bidding. The only safe place, the only moral place to be in this moment is part of the resistance. And if they are attacking you, then that is the best sign that you are right where the Lord means you to be.
And then, of course, you always got these loudmouth folk who show their asses, such as Michael Rappaport, Jolanda. And so he responded to my tweet where he called her a race hustler. And so this is what he posted. Let's be real clear. Michael Rappaport, you're not funny. You're not an interesting comedian. No way in the hell I will even go see one of your shows. He goes, she's a low life for that alone, besides the list of all of her other race hustling con work. But that comment puts her in the Michael Rappaport official shitbag list. Michael Rappaport, you ain't even relevant enough to have a list.
But who is Michael Rappaport?
And there you go.
You've been to sports events, they're like, who's he? Well, that's what I have to say to him, first of all. Second of all, I have to say that sometimes you have to speak non-Queen's English in order to make your point. Third of all, they're jealous of her. They're jealous of the attention she gets. And since their intelligence doesn't afford them a grand vocabulary, then they have to try to do put downs like they're doing with her. I can't help it that the woman speaks in sound bites. I can't help it that the woman connects with people with our most base fears. I can't help it if she is not afraid to say what most people are terrified to say. And I know with older Black people who experience Jim Crow and segregation and lynchings, they appreciate that a Black woman is in the halls of Congress and can talk back to these white folks that were oppressing us. And guess what? They saying, keep on doing it, Jasmine. And you know what? If she didn't have the ball, they wouldn't be coming for her. Trust and believe that. Y'all mad. So first of all, is she too ghetto or is she too educated? I don't understand.
Right.
And why? And why? If I have the ability to, or the talent, like the qualifications to go to an elite school, now it's used against me, and you're telling me because I go to the best schools and I get an undergraduate degree and I get a law degree that I have to disassociate from where I'm from. I have to lose my Blackness. Why? That's actually believing that in order to be smart, you have to be white or you have to do white stuff. And like you said, Roland, and this is what you left out, how many of these people want babies with Black men? Because they trying to be us, right? And They buy fake hair. Somebody got fake hair, but we can't do it. They buy fake lashes. They put on fake lips. And when you have a person in Congress literally being disrespectful, who's representing the United States of America in another country, telling another country, you are not important, I ain't listening to what you got to say, then that's craziness. It's embarrassing. Hell, they should be saying, I'm embarrassed to be an American with what she's doing. And here's what's important about what Congresswoman Crockett does. She might get you because she is probably one of the best with comebacks, but she's talking about policy failures for them. I can't help it that she says it in a way that people believe it.
Right.
And when you speak, it's falling on deaf ears. Something else. She's fighting for the vulnerable. She was at the HRC, which is an advocacy group for LGBT people. Trump and Governor Abbott come for gay people, so she fighting for them. And it's Republican hypocrisy.
Right.
When they stand up, they disrespect President Obama, they disrespected Joe Biden, and Jasmine says something. And all of a sudden, it's an act of war.
Listen, Trump called every governor names. He said here, you know, he called Gavin Newsom scum. He used all kinds of names, Rebecca. That's who these people are. So they ain't got no room to lecture nobody.
Nobody.
Rebecca, go ahead.
Jasmine's not ghetto. She grew up in St. Louis with my cousin Bobby. Like, she's not ghetto at all. Here's the thing. I'd rather be Jasmine Crockett than Chuck Schumer, someone who's appearing to be feckless when it comes to protecting the rights of Americans and not properly standing up as a minority leader or as the opposition leader in the Senate. I would rather be Jasmine Crockett than an American Idol reject like Marjorie Taylor Greene. So, I mean, there's so many, like, they say it as if it's not a badge of honor. All of us on this panel here, all three of us on this panel, we're attorneys, we're Black women. I'm sure all sorts of our classmates wanted to call us ghetto, the N-word, and all sorts of other names because we're brilliant in how we show up, and so is Jasmine Crockett. I think it's great that she's being an effective voice that's cutting through the noise because we're not seeing enough of that in what should be the opposition party against this administration. So good for Jasmine.
Well, it's real simple. We got some other stuff we got to get to, but listen, King Wallonius made it plain. I posted this on Instagram yesterday, and Instagram removed the audio. I don't know why they did it, but I'm just saying I'm in the mood for this here when it comes to just describing Marjorie Taylor Greene. So y'all keep the panel up, turn the audio up. So I just simply can't help myself for this King Wallonius hit song right here that I think is a banger. Choir. This is by Marjorie Taylor Greene, y'all. Like
one more time. One more time for the people in the back.
I'm just saying, y'all want to keep it up. It's all good. We can go there if y'all want to go there. I'm just saying. We'll go there if you want to.
Black people.
Nah, we will be petty as hell. That's why they can't stand Jasmine. So it's all good. So we don't really give a damn of what y'all got to say. And if y'all want to play that censure game, guess what? We're going to come after every single one of y'all for the racist comments. And so Data Lash, Matt Walsh, all y'all can holler about her eyelashes, how she's ghetto. But in the words of Della Reese from Harlem Nights, you can kiss our entire black ass.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
The amount of lying that we are seeing today, they are attacking everybody. They're attacking Jeffrey Goldberg. Now they're claiming, oh, Elon Musk and Doge are going to be investigating how he got into a Signal chat. Y'all, I got Signal. You add somebody from your phone. I'm sorry, this is not hard for us. Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, Democratic leader, dropped a letter yesterday calling on Pete Hegseth to resign. He joins us right now. Democratic leader Jeffries, glad to have you here. Let's just be real clear. Peter Hegseth replaced a retired four-star general, a man whose resume that Peter Hegseth couldn't even carry. This man is an embarrassment, and now he's trying to say, oh, no, there were no warplanes, things along those lines. If you are the defense secretary and you have a group chat and the Secretary of State's on it, and you have the National Security Advisor, Director of National Intelligence, and the CIA, it is not hard to click and check to see who is all on this chat before you're having sensitive national security conversations.
That's absolutely correct. Hegseth is a complete and total fraud, which is exactly why I called upon Donald Trump directly to fire Pete Hegseth. If Hegseth doesn't have the courage to resign in disgrace and own up to the fact that he's way in over his head. He was never qualified for this position. In fact, he's the most unqualified person ever to hold the position of Secretary of Defense, one of the most important positions in the entire United States government, in fact, in the free world.
Here, I mean, this is not hard. They sort of did it yesterday. Made a mistake, move on. No, now you want to double down. Now you want to attack. Then you want to claim it was classified. Then you want to claim it's not classified. Then you want to attack the reporter. You want to attack the media. You want to attack Democrats. They screwed up. They screwed up. And now they're, oh, well, no, yeah, the signal was loaded. Now one reporter is suggesting that they gave a waiver to allow signal, which means that if that's the case, they are purposely trying to skirt Freedom of Information Act. They also do not want those records to be kept. They are purposely trying to break the law.
It appears that several laws have been violated, including the Espionage Act, and that's one of the things that Democrats are going to continue to press forward on as it relates to this investigation. and the unfolding scandal. We're going to make sure people are held accountable. And there are a lot of questions that need to be answered. And what we saw over the last few days was just lies and evasion and attempts to deflect. This is the pattern that this administration has continued to engage in. We ain't going to let them get away with it. We are going to keep pressing the case on this. This is only the beginning. Here's the other thing, Roland. Pete Hegseth is the poster child for mediocrity. But at the same time, this dude wants to lecture the country about meritocracy. Are you kidding? Like, it's a laughable situation. He wants to erase and cancel Jackie Robinson's military history and record. He wants to erase and cancel the bravery and heroism of the Tuskegee Airmen, who were so skilled and gifted that other fighter pilots and bombers only wanted them to have their back when they were flying over Nazi Germany. He wants to erase that history. They want to claim that it's all about merit. It ain't all about merit. We believe in merit. Merit should be based on what you know. But instead, they want merit based on who you know. And because they think Pete Hegseth looks the part, whatever that means, they put this woefully unqualified person into the position, and now they're failing in real time.
We talk about unqualified. Here we got 4 United States soldiers missing for 14 hours. NATO says they were found dead. Hasn't been confirmed by the U.S. military. We literally have not heard from the U.S. military. And here is the twice impeached, criminally convicted felon con man, Donald Trump. This is when he was asked in the Oval Office about this. Listen.
About soldiers in Lithuania. Have you been briefed about the soldiers in Lithuania who are missing?
No, I haven't.
Have you
spoken, sir, with the big...
Confused. If President Joe Biden had answered a question that he wasn't being briefed, they would say, who's running the White House? Who's doing what? This man is not working. How is it that you have 4 United States soldiers missing for 14 hours? And he's like, I don't know what's going on. Nobody has talked to me. And yesterday, he wasn't aware of the signal as well. I'm sorry, who's running the country?
Perhaps Elon Musk, which is disturbing in and of itself. The whole thing is a malignant clown show. Emphasis on the word malignant because it's very dangerous. And what we're seeing is that the health, the safety, the national security, the well-being of the American people are at risk. The well-being of our troops are at risk. And this is extraordinary, but it was bound to catch up to these people. And it's catching up to them with record speed.
This is the excuse making to me is beyond belief. And let's just be clear. Your counterpart, House Speaker Mike Johnson. Oh my God, talk about gutless. I mean, and so it's just more excuses. The reality is that you do not have a party across the aisle that wants to keep this man in check. Thank goodness Senator Roger Wicker of Mississippi said they got a bipartisan call for an inspector general to do a report on what happened here. But the reality is Republicans in the House, in the Senate, they don't care. They want this man to do whatever he wants. There will be no accountability. And all they offer is a slew of excuses over and over and over.
That's right. By the way, they tried to fire all of the inspector generals. We had to sue, and judges had to reverse it because it was an unlawful action. And it's my sense, certainly, I mean, the House Republican Conference, forget about them. They continue to bury their heads in the sand. They think they work for Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Congress works for the American people. And so their sycophantic behavior, we expect that that's going to continue. But we will press the case. We're going to use every lever available to us to make sure that we follow the facts, we apply the law, we're guided by the Constitution, we expose these frauds for who they are, and then make sure that there is some accountability. Here's the thing. What the House Republicans are interested in at the end of the day, they've done nothing to make life more affordable, nothing to lower costs. Costs are going up. They're not going down. Inflation's going up. What's going down are the retirement savings of the American people. They're trying to gut Social Security, gut Medicare, gut Medicaid, gut veterans benefits, gut nutritional assistance for children and families. Literally, they want to take food out of the mouths of babies. Why are they doing all of this? So they can pass the GOP tax scam and give massive tax cuts to their billionaire puppet masters like Elon Musk. So we have to continue to expose what's happening on the Hill, push back into Congress, push back in the courts, push back in communities all across the country so we can win the hearts and minds of the American people and end this national nightmare as soon as possible.
On that particular point there, obviously your midterm elections are not happening until next year. What we have going on, you got some gubernatorial races this year. You've got some constitutional amendments on the ballot in Louisiana this Saturday, the Wisconsin Supreme Court race that's taking place on April 1st. You also, of course, just had a special election where a Democrat won a state Senate race in Pennsylvania in a district that Trump won by 15 points. You got people who are still sitting here saying, oh my God, Democrats are not doing enough. What are you and others doing? On Monday, we live streamed the conversation between you and Ken Martin that was moderated by Reese Colbert. We live streamed that right here on the Black Star Network. Democrats are winning in these places. So this idea, and also you're only down 3 in the House. You got 2 special elections in Florida in some red districts. You got 1 in New York State. So I'm confused. This doom and gloom, everything is over. Democrats polling is at 29%. But what are you seeing? What are you hearing? And what do you say to those who just think that the world has ended and Democrats will keep losing elections for forever?
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up, Roland, because the reality is in all of these different arenas, we actually are winning. House Democrats outraised House Republicans in January. In fact, House Democrats had a record January in terms of our history in an off year. We outraised them by $4 million. Then in February, we outraised House Republicans again by $2 million. In fact, House Democrats outraised Senate Republicans as well, which almost never happens. At the same period of time, we won a special election in Iowa, a state Senate race in January. That was a race in a district that Trump had won by 21 points. And the Democrat won by 4. That was a 25-point turnaround. Trump had literally just won that district by 21 points in November, just 2 months before. Then in February, an African-American won a special election for county executive in Westchester County, one of the suburban counties, swing counties, represented by a Republican in Congress, Mike Lawler. We did our thing there. Then, as you pointed out, Roland, we just had another special election in Pennsylvania, a district that Trump had won by 15 points, and a Democrat turned around and won it. And so the American people are rising up. Democrats are actually energized and turning out to vote. Republicans are the ones who are apparently demoralized. They're not turning out. And then swing voters, independent voters in these races are actually voting for the Democratic candidate because they know that we have a vision to build an economy that works for everyday Americans and to push back against these attacks on our democracy. And Republicans are trying to create a country of the billionaires, by the billionaires, and for the billionaires. And that's a totally unacceptable vision.
In addition to that, we're now seeing these news stories come out how Donald Trump is having food delivery trucks turned around. You've got food banks in Ohio and other places that are not getting food. I thought these people were pro-life.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. It's all phony. I mean, it's all phony. At the end of the day, what drives them is massive tax breaks for billionaires and wealthy corporations. All this talk about trying to make life better for working class Americans, that went out the door the day after they won. And now it's just an extreme agenda, dismantling the Social Security Administration in real time. Why would they go after our parents and our grandparents who rely upon Social Security to live? On average, $65 a day, but they're leaving Elon Musk alone, who's got $8 million a day in federal contracts.
Send out their check.
It's insane.
I'm glad you brought up Social Security. There's been a lot of conversation. We covered this the other day. You got the Commerce Secretary, billionaire, worth $4 billion, doing a show where he brought up if Social Security checks were late for his mother-in-law. This is what he had to say. This is Howard Lutnick.
Let's say Social Security didn't send out their checks this month. My mother-in-law, who's 94, she wouldn't call and complain. She just wouldn't. She'd think something got messed up, and she'll get it next month. A fraudster always makes the loudest noise, screaming, yelling, and complaining.
Okay, I'm sorry. This man is worth $4 billion. Okay, let's be real clear. If I got $4 billion, my mother-in-law, unfortunately mine is deceased, she ain't waiting on a Social Security check. Let's just be real clear. But this idea that, oh, she wouldn't say anything, she would just wait for it next month. The millions of people that depend on that check being on time, how arrogant is this billionaire making a claim like that? And basically he's saying, if you're upset that your Social Security check is late, you're a fraudster.
My mother relies on her Social Security check. Her son is not a billionaire. And I can tell you that if that Social Security check is late, even a day late, she's on the phone with her congressman's son trying to figure out what happens, open up a constituent case. Why? Because she needs it. Just like millions and millions of others all across the country. And by the way, Social Security is an earned benefit. People have paid into Social Security and Medicare throughout their entire lives. This isn't charity. These are benefits that they've earned and that they deserve. They've worked hard for their entire lives. And it is arrogance, as you've indicated. But what we've seen from this administration and the Pete Hegseth Signalgate scandal, national security scandal, is evidence of this. It's a combination of arrogance and incompetence. That's a toxic combination, and the American people are paying the price.
Absolutely. Last question I have for you, Congressman. A lot of folks have been paying attention to when it came to the CR bill. You and the Democrats held strong against that. Senator Chuck Schumer voted for that. Folks were speculating, and we've heard others say there needs to be a change. What is the state of your relationship with Senator Chuck Schumer? And can people expect to see that Democrats are going to vigorously fight this administration? I made the point, the guy who won the race in Pennsylvania last night, he ran a campaign where he went hard against Trump, against Elon Musk. People out there want to see Democrats fighting for what's right, fighting for the values. Is Senator Chuck Schumer up for this battle?
Yes, I believe so. We had a strong disagreement, and there's no sugarcoating that, and a different view about how to approach what we as House Democrats viewed as a reckless Republican spending bill that would hurt children, hurt families, hurt seniors, hurt veterans. And we rejected it because in our view, it was completely and totally unacceptable. And we were ready to aggressively push back and have that kind of public debate, discussion, fight, battle on behalf of the American people. Now, subsequent to that disagreement, Chuck Schumer and I sat down. I've known him for a long period of time. We both live in Brooklyn. We had an open and honest and candid conversation about the way forward. And though we disagreed about the spending issue, we do agree on the overwhelming majority of issues. And I think we're going to be in alignment on the fights to come, particularly as it relates to the need to save the health care of the American people and push back against and stop the Republican effort to visit upon the American people the largest Medicaid cut in American history, which is outrageous and disgusting and needs to be stopped.
All right, then. Well, Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, we appreciate it. And hey, again, you and Ken Martin sat down, and I'll throw this out. I would love to host in our studio. Y'all just tell me how much time y'all want to do it. You, Senator Schumer, and Ken Martin to have a conversation about the future forward for the Democratic Party. You guys let me know when we can make it happen.
Count me in. I look forward to making that happen.
All right. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Okay, man.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
We're always telling you, you must exercise your power. You must not sit on the sidelines, and that there always are elections happening across the country that are happening in your state, in your county, in your city. Well, in Louisiana, there's an election tomorrow that deals with 4 constitutional amendments. These amendments deal with changing the tax law, establishing specialty courts, changing the dates of judicial elections, and things along those lines. Now, these, of course, we talk about constitutional amendments. That means that they're actually going to be placed in the Constitution. Okay, that means that's the law. It is very, very hard to actually change that. Well, you got folks there who are in Louisiana, African Americans, who have really been going around the state, really holding town halls and trying to get our folk to understand the impact of these elections. In fact, the powercoalition.org, they've been working with Gary Chambers Inc. to do so. This is a graphic that they put up. You can access, I put this on all my social media outlets, y'all. So you can go grab it from my Instagram page, my Twitter page, from Fanbase, Snapchat, TikTok, Facebook. I posted on all of them. And so they're saying, say no to all of the constitutional amendments. You see at the bottom right here, you got any problem voting, call 866-OUR-VOTE. You also have, of course, how you can find your polling place and district. You go to powercoalition.org/vote. And so, and again, so activist Gary Chambers Jr. has really been focused on this. So Gary hit me up today, and he said that, oh, these Republicans are real scared. And so they have been using, of course, using text messages that have been going to black folks. I saw somebody on posting on social media, they don't even live in Louisiana, and they got a text message. And so you might say, well, who are they utilizing? Who are they having push stuff out? Would you believe rapper 50 Cent? Now, 50 Cent just signed a 45-year lease agreement for his studio buildings in Shreveport, Louisiana. This is the video Gary sent me that they have been sending around with 50 Cent backing one of these constitutional amendments. I want y'all to listen.
This is Curtis James Jackson. You might know me as 50 Cent. I have a special message for the people of Louisiana. As you may have heard, I'm now a proud Louisiana property and business owner working hard to bring film and television industry back to Louisiana. I'm working because I have an opportunity to use my influence and make real change in the communities. I want to see more jobs and prosperity in the state of Louisiana. This is why I support the Amendment 2 on your ballot this Saturday. You should too. Don't let anyone confuse you about the Amendment 2. It gives teachers permanent pay raise. It doubles senior citizens tax deduction. This is all good stuff. Voting in favor of the Amendment 2 makes common sense. And this is a bipartisan effort. Every Louisiana State Senate Democrat voted to get the Amendment 2 on the ballot. This one is about the people coming together. This is Curtis James Jackson. You might know me as 50 Cent.
Okay.
I have a special message.
All right. Well, again, 50 Cent just showed up in Louisiana very recently. Let's talk to somebody who is a lifelong resident of Louisiana, activist Gary Chambers Jr. So, Gary, you sent me that this morning. So you heard 50 Cent there talking about Amendment 2. This is from the Power Coalition. They say this amendment would change some of Louisiana's rules about taxes, government spending, and teachers' pay. It is a grab bag of changes, but at its core, it cuts funding for early, special, and K-12 education, as well as roads and infrastructure maintenance. Explain.
Thank you again, Roland, for having us be a part of this conversation. You know, I wish 50 would have tried something else today other than interfering in our politics. But the reality is it's about what's good for him. But the truth of this is, Roland, they are restructuring the entirety of our tax code to help people like 50 Cent. Out-of-state business owners are going to be able to get more money in tax deductions in order to pay for this. People who are working class folks, school teachers, bus drivers, people who are auto mechanics, people who are people that work in restaurants, you're going to end up paying more in taxes because they're taxing more things in sales taxes. Teachers, this is a stipend that they're going to make permanent. It is not a raise. Teachers are not going to get any additional money in their pay. And a matter of fact, because of the changes in the sales taxes, their money is going to get ate up in more taxes rather than a serious substantive raise for our teachers. Roland, this has gotten so desperate for the governor that he was at the White House the other day, caught on a hot mic talking to Mike Johnson about this issue. And that's why they call 50, because at the end of the day, 50 is a businessman looking to advance himself in his business. And I don't have an issue with 50 coming to Shreveport and doing business. I don't have an issue with him buying up property. I don't have an issue with him attempting to revitalize Shreveport. I do have an issue with you saying that this is something that's good for us because you heard it from some white politicians in our state. I would also tell you that Democrats in the state Senate did vote for this, but ask black folks in the state of Louisiana if they showed up overwhelmingly for the Democrats that are in the Senate. The answer is no. We've had abysmal voter turnout in this state over the last couple of years. We've never had, in Baton Rouge, I looked this up recently, Roland, in Baton Rouge, in the last 20 years, there's not been a single legislative race where 50% of the people showed up to vote. So it's telling me that a senator supported this. Is not telling me that this is what the people of the state of Louisiana support. Also, right now, 37% of turnout in the state of Louisiana is black. If 12 to 15% of white people agree with what black voters are saying right now in this state, we end up defeating the governor and sending a message to him and the state legislature that you got to do better than this. The other thing is, we don't need confusion. We're telling people to vote no on all four. To have 50 come in and say voting yes on two, that's entering in confusion to a simple message, no on all four, because they're all bad for the people of Louisiana.
Did the Power Coalition, did you or any others, did 50 Cent reach out to black activists to talk to them about any of this?
I've never had a conversation with 50. I reached out to you. I reached out to some other folks on the national level who I felt may have a relationship with the brother, because look, you may not know, okay? I'm trying to give the brother the benefit of the doubt. 50, you may not understand how this will hurt working class people, how this is gonna hurt poor people. You may not have read the legislation because it's such a complicated piece of legislation that people sued in order to have it removed from the ballot because the language is so long and complicated because it's confusing. The reality is this policy is gonna restructure our tax plan, cost poor people more money, help rich people keep more of their money, and it's a bad deal for the working class people of Louisiana. It is also disappointing when black folks who have acquired a certain level of wealth talk to wealthy white people to come then tell black folks what they ought to do. I think that's a disingenuous position. I can appreciate him coming into our state, but oh boy, mind your business when it comes to this one.
So, and so here's the deal. Let's be real clear. Jeff Landry is MAGA to his core. And it's not like this is about black folk.
Roland, you know what blows me about this? I wasn't going to go there, but I'm going to go there. 50 wouldn't say nothing about the national politics that impacts the entirety of black people in America. Couldn't get you to open your mouth about what black folks should do in the presidential election. Now we got the Department of Education being torn down, where black folks are questioning about so many funding mechanisms that take care of black children, special needs children. You use special needs children in your messaging while they're dismantling the Department of Education, and you're trusting the people who are aiding and abetting that process to govern the state of Louisiana with just and equitable policies. If you don't want to say nothing about the national politics where you have national influence, please don't come down here meddling in our local state issues when you have a platform to be able to influence black people all over this country. But it seems you only want to use that when it's beneficial to you. And I call bullshit on that.
So let's go through these amendments for folk who don't understand. First off, Amendment 1 would allow the Louisiana legislature to create trial courts of specialized jurisdiction and provide Supreme Court original jurisdiction to discipline out-of-state lawyers. Walk us through that.
So this basically says that if an out-of-state lawyer does something that the courts oppose, that they give them the ability to create special courts. Roland, you understand the complexities of what it takes to put something into the Constitution. This gives them broad powers to create new courts. We oppose that. While specialty courts can be a benefit, we don't want new broad sweeping powers for them to go in and create specialty courts that they're going to end up penalizing lawyers with. The Supreme Court of the state of Louisiana can already deal with out-of-state lawyers. We don't need a new court system to do it. More bureaucracy.
All right. We talked about Amendment 2, so let's go to Amendment 3. It would allow the Louisiana legislature to decide which crimes could lead to a juvenile being tried as an adult. Additionally, this would allow lawmakers to change rules over time without needing a constitutional amendment.
So right now, 80% of the kids in juvenile justice system in Louisiana are black kids. So we know that these laws are generated to lock up more black kids. But here's the reality. District attorneys in Louisiana are already charging juveniles as adults. They already last year took kids out of juvenile correctional facilities and placed them in Angola Penitentiary. He just put a proposal forth to spend $36 million on a new juvenile detention center in Rapides Parish while we are looking for funding for tutoring programs. This is not about helping black children. This is not about making our community safer. If he was serious about making our community safer, he'd have took that $36 million and invested in community programs to tutor these kids and give them after-school programs in some of these communities where these things are happening. District attorneys already have the power to charge these juveniles as adults. What this would do is give the legislature the ability to throw a bunch more charges in there that they can put our kids in jail for. So a kid who stole a $500 cell phone could end up in an adult correctional facility. And the reality is you end up with kids that are more broken than they are fixed by that. We end up with kids that are tainted by the justice system rather than given the tools that they need to be successful in this life. And the last thing I'll say on that, Roland, is you don't get a Gary Chambers if rules like that existed in Louisiana, because I was a kid who was arrested for the first time at 12, arrested again at 16, and arrested again at 21. Never was I arrested for something that I was actually guilty of, okay? So let's be clear. Every black kid that gets in contact with the cops is not necessarily a criminal or wrong, but the system in this state should not become more punitive. It should become more prosperous and give young people the ability to find avenues for prosperity rather than punishment.
Okay, let's go to Amendment 4. Would allow the state to fill the vacancies for new courts using the earliest election date allowed by state law, which are often low turnouts.
They want to do just what they're doing right here in this March 29th election where most people aren't paying attention. The governor was caught on a hot mic saying they thought the turnout was going to be 12%. Now they're predicting that the turnout is going to be around 22%. They know that low turnout elections allow them to get judges of their choosing on the bench, and that does not benefit the global population of this state to get an equitable and fair judiciary.
And again, when you talk about these low turnout elections, look, they understand how things helps them and how it helps them being able to turn out. In fact, This is a NOLA small business owner, Matthew Roland Weber. He posted this. This is his graphic on the. Give me 1 second. It's not coming up. We'll figure out why. Give me a second. He posted a graphic on this election here. This is how he broke it down. He calls Amendment 1 shady specialty courts. Amendment 2 tax cuts for the rich. Amendment 3 dismantling juvenile justice. Amendment 4 tinkering with judicial elections.
I love it. I love it. It is short, to the point, and accurate to what this is. These policies are all bad for the state of Louisiana. I really hope that 50 finds some new relationships in our state so that he doesn't come meddling in and trying to tell black folks. And let me tell you something. I know he doesn't care, but there's not a single black person that I've talked to today that felt anything positive from getting that text message from 50. And I would hope that somebody like him would not allow people to use him as a tool, because if you are as bad as you say you are, then you should be coming in, influencing and changing things rather than getting those people to use you like a piece of equipment.
This was that you mentioned the video, the hot mic. This is it. This is when MAGA Governor Jeff Landry was in Washington, D.C., and he's here with House Speaker Mike Johnson. Folks, listen to this.
What's the anticipated turnout? Well, we thought it would be 12, but it looked like it might be 18%. Yeah. Because it had that option Saturday. This week, 20% of Jefferson. Okay.
Johnson, Speaker of the House from Louisiana, Shreveport.
I try to tell folks all the time, you got folks from the 50th ranked state in the nation running the whole damn country. And I've been screaming to pay attention to the elections in Louisiana because this little raggedy place that people try to ignore is punching above its weight every day. You got a guy from Caddo Parish, Louisiana, standing at the White House with Jeff Landry, caught on a hot mic. These same people are justifying folks who can't even text correctly, can't even operate a simple process of evaluation within their government. And these are the people that you want to trust with the government. The rest of the country should pay attention to these deep South states because people like Jeff Landry are friends with people like Mike Johnson, and Mike Johnson is dismantling the country before our eyes with Donald Trump and Elon Musk. And if you ignore these elections, if you're not paying attention to what's happening here, it'll be knocking on your door soon enough.
And folks, if you want to understand why it's important when you talk about how they want to change the law to benefit business owners, you might say, well, okay, but what's the big deal? Where does Louisiana stand? Go to my iPad. These are the rankings, y'all. When it comes to crime and corrections, Louisiana, the 50th ranked state in America. The economy, the 49th ranked state. Education, 47th. Fiscal stability, 41st. Healthcare, 46th. Infrastructure, 49th. Natural environment, 49th. Opportunity, 44th. That's not where you want to be. So the highest ranking for Louisiana, Gary, is fiscal stability at 41. You don't want to be in the bottom of states in America.
So with a 41st ranked fiscal stability, you're going to go in and now move the money that we put in stability funds. You're going to move the money that we put in rainy day funds. You're going to move. We already in the bottom 10 of the whole country. I tell people all the time, there are people in this state who love to be first in the worst. There are people here who are committed to being great at being the last. And I think that we have to make a collective decision that you won't allow people with small thinking to have a big impact, okay? And the way that you minimize that is by supporting people and the elections and the initiatives that are happening in the places that nobody else is expecting to have an impact on your life. Trump understands that these people are simple-minded like Mike Johnson. Trump understands that they are linear focused on one thing, and that is white supremacy and religious control within this country. And whatever they do in order to make that happen, they don't care what it costs you or how uncomfortable it makes your life, as long as they accomplish that goal. They don't care how much Trump destroys other aspects of the government if it helps them accomplish their end goal, which is putting more mediocre white men in positions of power over you.
Again, folks, big election tomorrow in Louisiana. Call your friends, post on social media, tell your folks to turn out. Black numbers are huge in Louisiana and can be the deciding factor in that state. And you're right. Listen, if black folks turn out in those numbers as you laid out, as you've been laying out in early voting, that could be the difference in this being defeated, Gary, and forcing the governor to have to come back to the table and, frankly, negotiate with the people on a real economic plan for Louisiana.
That is exactly right, Roland. I thank you, as always, brother, for highlighting the issues of our people here in this state. Please text your people, call your people. If 5 to 10% more black folks show up tomorrow and vote no on all 4 constitutional amendments, we get to have a different conversation with our state legislature in 3 weeks when they go into session.
Gary Chambers Jr., we appreciate it, man. Thanks a bunch, and we hope it's a good night for you and others tomorrow night when the polls close.
You know I'll be reaching out, Roland. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Again, I just want to remind people that in Louisiana, polls open at 7 a.m. Central. 7 a.m. Central in Louisiana. They close at 8 p.m. Central. So let folks know, don't sit at home. Don't sit at home, folks. All right? Don't sit at home.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.